So we're going to look at absolute value equations and inequalities, but this time ones with special solutions. What does that mean? Well, let's find out. I've got absolute value x plus 6 equals negative 12. Whenever you have an absolute value problem, we have to rewrite the problem twice and solve both of them. Now, I could rewrite it second time. We know that we have to change the sign of whatever is on that equal sign. Okay, I could run down and do all my work. There's nothing wrong with this. I can do all this, except there is something wrong with it. Those aren't right. What? Well, let's think and talk about absolute value. Whenever you take the absolute value of something, your answer always ends up being positive. The absolute value of 10, positive 10. The absolute value of negative 15, positive 15. Your answer is always going to be a positive. Now, if there's something in front of it, there's a negative out front, that's a whole different story. But absolute values, you come up to be a positive answer. I don't care what this x plus 6 is saying in here. All I know is if I want to take the absolute value of something, it's got to be positive. If I take the absolute value of all of this, I'm being told that my answer is a negative. That's not possible. So all this work that I just did, trash. What can we do instead? Let's read the problem beforehand. There's no possible way to get a negative answer to an absolute value. Our solution is that there is no solution. We just did a bunch of useless work. You could do it, but it's wrong. Just because it's there doesn't mean that it's okay. We have to read what's happening. You see a negative, something special is happening. Let's look at that with an inequality. Well, we just learned that we could set up all the work, but I don't want to. I want to read the problem before I do anything. The absolute value is greater than a negative. Whenever I take the absolute value of something, it's got to be positive. Is a positive number greater than a negative? Yes, it is. So instead of doing all this work that could be right, could be wrong, when I read this, when I see that negative, something special happens. Because a positive is always bigger than a negative, my answer here, many solutions, infinite many solutions, it doesn't matter what number I plug in there. It's always going to be bigger than a negative. One more. So we could rewrite the problem twice because we know we're going to get two answers, but we see a negative at the end. That negative should be a red flag and say, wait, let's step back, let's read the problem, let's see what that's asking. So the absolute value is always going to be a positive. I have a positive answer that's smaller than a negative. Can a positive be smaller than a negative? Negatives are the tiny ones. This isn't possible. I can't do anything here. So since I can't do anything, no solution. And that's absolute value equations and inequalities with special solutions.